We are one full week into the NHL season, and we're looking back at this full slate of games and just looking at the teams of the week, players of the week, and what we're looking forward to in the next 7 days of hockey. This is the Dump and Chase podcast presented by the Hoosier Network. I'm Noah Bedoris with Jack Rizzo and Noah Seuss. Fellas, how's it going?
It's going good. I'm very excited to talk more puck with you fellas as the season gets underway.
Yeah, great start to the season. We've had a lot of, teams who have not surprised us, teams playing well, teams we didn't think play well, not playing well, but also a lot of surprises. And I'm looking forward to the show and seeing what we think of all these teams early on in the season.
Yeah, that was something we talked about in episode 1, is that we really weren't expecting a whole lot of change when you compared last season's standings to this season's standings. And so far, granted, it's only been, 4 or 5 games for each team, but there's the potential for a massive mix-up within the final standings. Teams like Boston, teams like the Red Wings. So we're going to go ahead and jump into who was your team of the week. Seuss, I'll start with you.
Oh, my team of the week is the Detroit Red Wings. I saw a lot out of Detroit. I liked they played some tough teams. Montreal to start was a really bad start for them.
Yep.
But then they really bounced back with 2 wins against the tough Toronto Maple Leafs and a win against Florida. I'm very surprised with what I saw from Detroit, and I'm liking what I'm seeing from them. Could be a very good playoff team fighting for a last wild card spot, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, Detroit, when you look at it right now, is sitting at the top of the Atlantic. So, it's going to be a tough division. We've mentioned that this is the hardest one to win, but if they keep this up, they're going to be competing with a lot of heavyweights.
For sure. They're a young team, and it's only up from here, in my opinion.
Yeah, my team of the week, I'm going to give it to the Boston Bruins simply because I really didn't think that we were going to see much from this team this year. A team that's kind of retooling, new coach, but a 3-1 start, pretty impressed with them so far, and especially that their opening night win against Washington on the road, going 5 for 5 on the penalty kill, Jeremy Swayman having an unbelievable performance, and, Swayman has continued to play well as the first week of the season wraps up, but a 3-1 start is really impressive, and, obviously, it's not just Swayman, Pasta has 5 points on the season, Morgan Geekie's played well, their defense has played incredibly well, so if Swayman can stay at the top of his game all year, from what I've seen from Boston, I think they could be a bit of a sleeper in this Atlantic Division.
Okay, Jack, I want to ask you this, because I know you just said it, but I want to hear you clarify. Are the Boston Bruins legit this season?
Well, I think it's too early to tell. I mean, team of the week is just your team,
right.
The team that's impressed you the most. It's about your outlook on the season. And we were talking about this just a minute ago. We're going to see what the Bruins are made of over these next couple weeks or so, because their schedule is extremely tough, right? They have a 3-game road trip out west coming up. Vegas tonight, Colorado on Saturday, and then Utah, really good Utah team on Sunday. And then they return home. They face the Panthers, and then they face the Anaheim Ducks, who I also think are a bit underrated. Then Colorado again. So we're going to have to see if they're legit. Jeremy Swayman's really going to be tested against all these teams. I think we're going to have to see some of their scoring depth come out here because, Pasta can't really do it himself the whole season. So we're going to have to see we're going to have to see the bottom 6. We're going to have to see the power play be better than they have. But this is going to be a really good test for the Bruins these next couple weeks.
My main thing is with the Boston Bruins is Jeremy Swayman going to keep this up for an 82-game season?
Because that's what's making and breaking them right now is how Swayman's playing.
Exactly. He right now is the whole reason they're off to this amazing start.
Yeah.
Not disrespecting Pasta or McAvoy. It's just going to be tough for them to keep this up for 82.
I'm going to go ahead and say this for a little bit of a hot take, but we have our next show next Thursday. Boston has 4 games. They have Vegas, Colorado, Utah, and Florida. They will go 0-4 in that 4-game stretch, and we will sit here next week and say the Boston Bruins had a nice opening week, but their season's done.
Any overtime losses, or you think 4 regulation losses?
Okay. I'll say just for the sake of the prediction, Utah. Utah will be an overtime loss.
Okay.
But they will go to Vegas, go to Colorado, and host Florida and lose those in regulation.
Okay.
So I'm going to jump into my my team of the week, and you guys both went kind of the surprising route, which I appreciate. I kind of wanted to go that way, but the Dallas Stars are just too good right now. One of the 2 unbeaten teams left. They're second in goal differential. They're sitting at +5 right now. 3 guys on this roster have 5 points or more. You're looking at Ranson, you're looking at Hintz, you're looking at Harley. Those guys are all leading the team right now with 5 points. There's only the big thing with the Dallas Stars right now for me is that they're seeing production from the whole roster. There's only 4 guys who have a negative plus-minus, only 4 guys who have no points. And, yeah, this offense is just really good, and I think they're looking to stay at the top of this division for the whole season.
You know what? I am really impressed that they are getting their whole team involved, even though the top guys are still producing.
Right.
You still have Mikko Rantanen going out there, doing what he does best, the Jason Robertsons, the Wyatt Johnsons, the Robe Hintz. This team is really good, and it's going to show in the next couple weeks when they play a couple good teams.
Yeah, and that's the thing about them, too, is that they're playing good talent, too. And so that they're starting off this season hot and had an overtime win against Colorado, and they're really proving themselves to be standing out amongst the Western Conference.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's something that's going to help them once the playoffs come is, the fact they're going to play all these great teams during the regular season, playing in this loaded Central Division. And keep in mind, they're playing this well, and they are still missing their captain, Jamie Benn, hasn't come back yet from the injury. So think about when he comes back, how much better they're going to be. But, obviously the talk is going to be, their offense, all their star players. But I think Jake Ottinger deserves a lot of credit as well. And he's going to be a key as the season goes on. They're not going to be able to outscore every opponent and win every game. They're going to have to get some good goaltending from Jake Ottinger for the entire season.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Ottinger is that when you look at the stats just from those first 3 games, they're not anything spectacular. A little over 3 goals a game, just over 90% save percentage. But the gauntlet of the first 3 games that they had, Winnipeg, Colorado, Minnesota, you're not going to get a tougher set of 3 than that. And he did excellent given the competition.
Yeah, those 3 teams are very tough.
Yeah.
But that's what you're going to see in the playoffs, actually, if you're the Dallas Stars. You're going to see one of the Winnipeg Jets, the St. Louis Blues, or the Colorado Avalanche. And it's going to be a tough 6 or 7 game series.
Yeah, and they got Vancouver next, which we've talked about could be a team that is a bit of a pushover this season. But then you get St. Louis. And so they're working their way through the Western Conference, showing what they're made of just in these first 5 games.
100%. This Stars team is going to be tested, battle-tested for this playoffs. They're going to be ready to go. And it's going to be a fun run with this team because it's a fun group of guys.
Yeah.
You have a lot of talent there. And I'm very excited to see if they can win this division against Winnipeg.
Who picked them as Stanley Cup champs
last
week?
That was me. That was me.
You're starting to sell me a little bit on them.
I'm feeling good about it right now, actually.
They're looking real good. I want to flip over to the opposite side of Team of the Week in a category that we like to call not Team of the Week. Jack, who is your not Team of the Week?
Well, I'm going to go with my Stanley Cup pick for this year, the Tampa Bay Lightning. They just did not look really good at all this entire first week. Other than that win they had against Boston on Monday night, just a lot of struggles from this Tampa Bay team. And, the funny thing about it is it's not really the star players who are struggling. Jake Gensel has 5 points. Braden Point has 5 points. Victor Hedman doing his thing on the defense on the blue lines. But, the concerns I had with Tampa Bay coming into the year are really showing. Obviously all these star players are great, but their depth is something that I think is going to be questioned throughout the season. I think this is going to be a team that's going to be heavily reliant on special teams, power play and penalty kill, 2 things they do relatively well. But what are they going to get from this bottom 6? What are they going to get from the bottom 4 defensemen? And most importantly, what are we going to see from Andrei Vasilevsky?
Yeah.
He did not have a good first week at all in net, just an .870 save percentage. And obviously, he's not getting any younger. He's now in his 30s. So we're going to have to see if he's going to be able to turn back the clock. Because I think if the Tampa Bay gets into the postseason, he's one of the best postseason goalies we've ever seen play hockey. Yep. So, Tampa Bay is really hoping that it was just a rough first week for him. I mean, over 4 goals against average in this first week. They need Vasilevsky to play better, and they need to get more consistency from these secondhand contributors. They can't just rely on the Stars to carry the load throughout the season.
Jack, let me ask you this. Given the state of the Atlantic Division, how important is it for Tampa Bay to bounce back quickly?
I would say very important. You've got a lot of great teams in this division, right? I mean, obviously, Tampa Bay was helped by the fact that, teams like Toronto started out okay, 2-2.
Yep.
Teams like Ottawa did not play well, but this is a division that's going to be really loaded throughout the season. I mean, you're talking about, I think we're all pretty consensus on that we think that Montreal is going to take a huge step forward this year.
Yep.
You've got Florida, who looked pretty decent, even without their 2-star players in there for these first couple months of the season. You've got Detroit, who played really well this first week. So I think Tampa Bay bouncing back quickly is very important. You don't want to dig yourself in too deep of a hole and then be trying to climb out of it the rest of the season to get back into the playoffs. You want to establish this foundation early on in the season, and you don't want to be playing from behind. So you got to hope that Andrei Vasilevsky gets these issues figured out sooner rather than later, and you hope that Tampa Bay starts to get more production out of some of these secondhand contributors, like I just said.
Yeah, you really need to bounce back quickly, like you said. you need more of the key Tampa Bay guys stepping up too. I feel like Kucherov, he played all right, and we
That's a good
saw
point.
a little bit out of point too, but it wasn't what I'm used to seeing out of Tampa.
Right.
It's not the same consistency. It's not the same amount of goals. I feel like they just need a little more oomph from the big guys too.
Well, the thing about Tampa right now is that they have kind of what I would call a roller coaster way to end this first month of hockey, where they're coming up, they're going to play Detroit, they're going to play Columbus, they're going to play Chicago, and then Anaheim. 4 games that should be very winnable, and so that's going to be a chance for them to get back on track, get 3 or 4 wins out of that. But then as soon as you get done with Anaheim, you have a back-to-back. You're playing Vegas, then you're playing Nashville, then you're playing Dallas, and that's the end of October. And so that's going to be a test for them. Is first off, can they beat the teams they're supposed to beat? And then how can they hang with the top dogs in the West?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. You got to take advantage of this somewhat weak schedule. Although I don't know if some of these opponents are going to be walkovers, right? I mean, we've seen how good Detroit's played. I still think Columbus is really good.
Detroit and Columbus are good, but
Tampa Bay's better.
Tampa Bay should beat them.
Yes, I totally agree with that. I just don't think they're gonna just have to be able to grind out these games. They're gonna have to play consistent 60 minutes of hockey to win these games. You know, and then you talk about coming back home and facing some of these tough teams. You mentioned that 3-game stretch, or really it's like a 6-game stretch with Vegas, Nashville, Dallas, Utah, Colorado, and Vegas again. You know, so obviously you want to have a good next week because the schedule's going to get tough again when you start to get into that tough 6 or 7 game stretch late October, early November that they have.
I mean, the whole month of November for Tampa is a tough schedule when
It's
you're
a
looking at
gauntlet.
it. You have games against Colorado, Vegas. If Washington's going to be legit, they're in there. If the Rangers are going to be good, which we'll talk about, maybe they won't be.
New Jersey,
Florida, New Jersey, Edmonton.
Washington again, Detroit, and the Rangers to end the month.
It's going to be a tough start of the season for Tampa Bay if they can't figure it out, especially figure out their goaltending with Vasilevsky.
Yeah, Cooper's going to need to figure out this problem and figure it out quick.
Yeah.
To get things back on track in Tampa Bay.
I have faith in John Cooper. I think he's a fantastic coach. So if I had to pick any coach in the league to trust the most, I think he's the guy I would trust the most.
Yeah, and that's the thing, that this is a system that has proved to work in Tampa Bay. And so if you're a Lightning fan, you're not pressing the panic button yet. You're just a little bit concerned with the start, but you're trusting the process. You're trusting the organization. Seuss, who is your not team of the week?
My not team of the week has been a not team for a while. The San Jose Sharks. From my opinion, what I saw out of the Sharks might have been the worst hockey I've ever seen in my entire life. So in that first
You're an
game,
Islanders fan.
I'm an Islander fan. Yes. But the Sharks are just bad. That first game against Vegas, they were up 3-2. Jack Eichel dumps a puck in on net, and it goes past Alex Nedeljkovic. In overtime, Nedeljkovic thinks he's like, Patrick Waugh out there trying to get to center ice. He loses the puck. Riley Smith scores the empty netter. Okay, first game. You'll bounce back, right? Then they're up 6-4 against the Ducks in the third period. They blow it. 2 unanswered goals, and then the OT winner 46 seconds in. I don't even know how it gets that bad. Then you just lose a 5-1 game to the Hurricanes to top it off.
This is all at home, too.
Yeah.
Just terrible hockey. And I'm going to say, we need to see more out of Macklin Celebrini, to be honest with you. I am wearing the BU shirt where he went to college, but he needs to just be better, to be honest. No goals in the first 3. He did get 3 assists, but we need to see more from him and Will Smith, to be honest, too.
Do you think that there is a positive end to the season for the San Jose team, or is this just a bad week that's going to accumulate into a bunch of bad weeks?
I think for the Sharks, it's going to be like it's going to be like this young team. I don't think they're going to be close to the playoffs at all.
Yeah.
I'm going to say 60 to 70 points, a little bit better than expected. But it's going to be a long season if you're a Sharks fan. They're a young team, and a lot's coming.
Yeah, I think it's all about what we see from the young guys. I think if we see guys like Macklin Celebrini and Will Smith have good seasons, I think they can consider that a success and try to build on it in upcoming years.
Well, and that's what a rebuild is.
Exactly.
That you're building around these young guys to build them up and have them perform well enough to then continue to mold around them. If these young guys that you're bringing in and you're drafting to be the next faces of this team, if they're not performing, then that's just a bad look for the next 10 years of this franchise.
Yeah, it absolutely is. You know, we got to see constant improvement out of these guys. And, you know, obviously, I'm sure I understand why the fans are not happy because this has been a very long rebuild. But if you start to see 10 to 15 point improvements year after year, that's going to build up over time.
Right.
And maybe in 2 or 3 years, we'll see the Sharks maybe be more of a formidable team in the West. But this season just has to be about developing the young guys because they're not going to compete for the playoffs this year. And I think that's very, very obvious the way they've played these first 3 games.
I'm also very excited for the step that we might see out of Michael Misa.
Yeah.
If you put Michael Misa, all I heard all summer was if you put Michael Misa with Macklin Celebrini, how is that going to turn out? And I was very excited when I heard that. So those two could be very deadly. And if you put like a William Eklund with them, that's a good line.
It is.
It's a really solid line. I'm excited for the Sharks' future.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is that if they perform, they have a great future. But that's the worrisome part is that you can't quite trust them yet.
Not yet.
My not team of the week was a team that I was very high on going into the season, and I almost didn't pick them, but last night proved it. The Ottawa Senators. They started out the season in my must-watch game of opening night. They beat the Lightning 5-4. And then after that, they went 0-3, which included a loss. They gave up 8 goals to Buffalo.
Ouch.
Which is probably one of the worst things you could do as a hockey team. The biggest issue of concern that we talked about and the Senators have talked about is how is Linus Ullmark going to perform? He's been shaky. He's been on and off throughout his career. So far, he's averaging just over 4 goals allowed against, and his save percentage is terrible. 84% is what we're looking at. They have the lowest goal differential in the league. And all of the offense is coming from Pinto and Sanderson. Those guys have 6 and 5 points each. And the worst news coming up was that Brady Tkachuk is out for at least a month. And so there's really nothing positive going on for this Ottawa Senators team. I had high hopes for them, but they're looking at a tough start to this season.
It's been very shaky. Like I said, I really like this young core, but you need Linus Ullmark to be that number 1 goalie that he was in Boston. And I'm going to also say, we need to see more out of Thomas Chabot. He had a -4 this week. Not looking good for Chabot. I'm not going to say there's no hope that they're not going to make the playoffs, but it's looking like it's very, very, very blim.
Do you think that Ottawa trades for a goalie?
It's possible.
Because I have a guy that I think could be very sought after by a lot of teams, and that's Scott Wedgwood.
Yes.
And the way that he's playing so far this year. And it's going to be just an issue of, does Colorado stash him as that second goalie, or has he played well enough to warrant teams wanting him that badly?
I don't know. Scott Wedgwood did look pretty good in that first opening week. Is Colorado going to run that 2-goalie system? That might be really effective.
Well, I think it'll depend on how Mackenzie Blackwood does. He's at the AHL right now. He's recovering. He's unlikely to play this week is the word that I've been hearing, but he's coming back soon. And when Mackenzie Blackwood is back, he's going to be the day in, day out goalie for the Colorado Avalanche. And Scott Wedgwood is looking excellent. He's 3-0 so far this year. And so he could be a piece that gets moved to a team like Ottawa or a team like Edmonton or even a team like Columbus that might want.
Or New
goalie.
Jersey with Jacob
Or New
Markstrom
Jersey.
out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll go back to Ottawa real quick. And what I'll say about Ottawa is that I had this team as in my power rankings last week. I had them as my lowest playoff team from last year, simply because number one, you talked about it, Noah. The fact that the goaltending was going to be, they weren't going to be able to replicate that this year. And I also think that their depth is a bit concerning. I think they're very top heavy with a lot of these young guys, but the bottom 6, I'm not really sure about. And now with Brady Tkachuk being out, it just absolutely kills them. That's like their whole identity.
Yeah.
It's what Brady Tkachuk is. Physical, just play, he's the leader of this team. And, we have to see more. Tim Stutzel, too, only 2 points in 4 games. We have to see more out of him. Dylan Cousins had -7 on the week. I can't even believe I'm reading that out loud. That's absolutely insane to me. And yeah, as you mentioned, Bedoris, it's really just Shane Pinto and Jake Sanderson leading the way right now.
That's the whole offense.
Yeah, exactly. It's the whole offense. And Jake Sanderson's a defenseman.
Yeah.
So it's not looking good right now for Ottawa. And obviously Olmark's played well, and neither has Levi Merrill-Leinen either. If I think I said that name right. I've been practicing, but he had only 1 start, but he gave up 7 goals on 26 shots. Like, that is insane. They have got to be better. And again, it's the same thing with Tampa Bay, right? Being in this loaded division, you have to be able to bounce back sooner rather than later. Otherwise, you're going to dig yourselves in a pretty deep hole.
Right.
You know what? A really bad week, in my opinion. Dylan Cousins, -7, 3 points. Not bad for the way the Senators are producing.
Yep.
But a -7, you're on the ice for about.
Do you care that much about plus minus?
I really do. Plus minus is such a big thing for me as an Islander fan. I really look at that stat and value it.
Yeah, I think that top defense pair in Florida is really where I've started to learn about plus and minus, because you have Ekblad and Forsling with, like, at the end of the year they'll end with like a plus 20
Right.
plus or minus because of how good they are on the ice. So I think it really does have an impact. I mean, Nathan McKinnon had plus 6 on the week, plus
Yeah.
or minus. He was going to be my player of the week before, or I guess we haven't gotten to that yet, but so I won't spoil mine. But yeah, I think plus or minus it's growing on me as an important stat in hockey.
Yeah, I'm starting to lean that way as well. Especially I was just talking about the Dallas Stars being my team of the week. Only 4 guys have a negative plus minus, and that's showing just how much everybody's on the ice when the goals are being scored. It's not just that top line; everybody's getting involved, and the offense is going down the roster,
Which is such a key part of today's game.
Right.
Running those 4 lines out there.
It's a way faster game.
Oh yeah, you need all 4 lines
Yep.
clicking at all times.
Yeah, totally agree. Couldn't have said it better, Seuss.
So Jackie spoiled it a little bit. Let's venture on over to who you think the player of the week is. Jack, we'll start with you.
Yeah, well, as I said, it was going to be Nathan McKinnon, but I am going to instead choose Kirill Kaprizov from Minnesota, and especially because we all weren't sure if he was going to live up to that massive contract he got, getting paid $17 million this year, or whenever the contract kicks in. But 4 goals and 5 assists so far on the season for Kirill Kaprizov, looking like possibly the early Hart Trophy favorite. You know, it's been a bit of an up and down start for the Minnesota Wild, who I think can be a pretty good team. I mean, they are playing in a loaded division, but they looked pretty decent the first week. And as I said, their success relies on Kirill Kaprizov staying healthy. That top line in Minnesota is very good with him and with Matt Boldy. And I think that as long as Kirill Kaprizov stays healthy, I think they are going to be a significant competitor in the Central Division simply because of how good Kirill Kaprizov is.
Yeah, the Wild are always gonna rely on Caprile. It's just like, what is the rest of the team gonna do besides Kirill Kaprizov?
Yeah, that's the issue. And we talk about divisions all the time on this show, but that's kind of the issue for the Minnesota Wild right now is you're building around your star. You're putting all your chips in on him. Is that going to be enough offense to keep you afloat in a very tough division where you have teams like St. Louis and teams like even Utah who's taking big steps forward, teams like Seattle who's supposed to be better than expected? In this Western Conference, is Minnesota going to be able to keep up?
In my opinion, I am gonna say no.
Okay.
Right now, I'm gonna say no. They have to do something at the deadline to convince me otherwise. They have to make a splash. They have to put someone with Kirill Kaprizov.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to say no simply because I think there's the other teams in the West just have more depth than Minnesota does, right? You know, it's great that Kirill Kaprizov can be this good, and I would not be shocked at all if he has 120 points. I really wouldn't be, but, you know, they're going to need other guys to step up. Now, granted, Matt Boldy is right behind him. He's got 8 points on the season, 4 goals and 4 assists, but after that, there's a pretty significant drop-off in the offensive production, and obviously, I'm not really convinced that their defense nor Philip Gustafsson is going to be able to carry them if Kirill Kaprizov slumps or gets hurt. So I think they're going to have to. I agree with you, Seuss. I think we're going to have to see them do something at the trade deadline, if possibly keep up with these other teams.
Yeah, especially just looking at the Central. Obviously, the opening week isn't a perfect indicator of how teams are doing because there's a few surprise teams like Utah or teams like Nashville. But when I'm just looking at it right now, Minnesota is the second worst team in this division. They're just a few steps ahead of Chicago in this division, and if they don't turn things around, if they don't add some pieces, they could be ending their season in a pretty unsatisfactory way.
Which, as if you're a Minnesota fan, you would be totally disgusted with the performance on the ice.
You're spending that much money on one guy to not even be close to a playoff spot.
That's just terrible. You need to do something else.
Yeah.
To be honest, I don't know what it is. Is it defense? Is that the problem right now in Minnesota?
Yeah, I think it's that. I think it's Philip Gustafsson too.
There's a lot of holes you got to fill.
Sub 900 save percentage on the season.
Yeah,
it's not going to cut it.
No. Where are we at? Were we at player of the week?
Yeah, player of the week. Yeah. So for my player of the week, I'm gonna go with the next guy who got paid. Not Connor McDavid, Jack Eichel. 4 goals, 5 assists, 9 points. Very solid week for the former Boston University Terrier. I keep talking about these guys. I'm not doing this because I'm biased, but it was a really good week for him. He's the main contributor on that team. Like I said, he's the spark plug.
Right.
He's awesome. And he led them. He led them to what they did this week. It's great to see Jack Eichel produce. So even though they did have a 2-0-2 week, I'm very excited for the season Vegas is going to have with the new core, not the new core, but adding Mitch to the already core that you had. But you need to see more out of Hill.
Yeah, and Vegas isn't a team that we're concerned about at all. In this Pacific Division, we know that they're going to compete. They're going to be a Stanley Cup favorite. And so Jack Eichel, the biggest positive is just that he's living up to the money. Like, you're not concerned about his performance necessarily as a Vegas fan because you know that the team is built to win games. But just seeing that he's worth all that you're paying him for is a massive, satisfaction as a Vegas fan.
Oh yeah, right now you're dancing right now.
Right.
He's doing exactly what he's supposed to be doing on the ice. He's just doing awesome.
Yeah, I think my favorite thing about Jack Eichel in Vegas is the way he's really evolved as a 200-foot player.
Yeah.
He does everything for this team now. He kills penalties. He's on the power play. He's facing off against every other team's top line. He's really doing it all for this Vegas team, and he's almost become a similar player to what Alexander Barkov is doing in Florida. Just the only difference is that Eichel's a right-handed shot, and I think he's been more of a prolific goal scorer than Sasha Barkov is. But, and we'll go back to plus or minus because, as I said, it's an evolving stat. Last year, Jack Eichel had a plus 32 on the plus or minus scale. So it is clear that when Jack Eichel is on the ice, this Vegas team may be the Cup favorite, honestly. If he is on the ice and if he continues this level of production, the one concern is health, right? He's had a lot of health problems in his career. 2 seasons ago, missed about 20 games. The year before that, missed 15 games. So obviously, he's got to stay healthy. And we know that Vegas has always been a team that's dealt with a lot of injuries.
Yep.
There's been a lot of talk with them and the way they use the long-term injured reserve in terms of cap space, in terms of playoffs and all that fun stuff. But if Jack Eichel can stay healthy and if he can keep up this level of production, he could be in contention for the Hart Trophy, and Vegas could be the Cup favorite heading into the playoffs.
Yeah, the thing about Jack Eichel for me is just how starkly different Vegas Eichel is compared to Buffalo Eichel. Just looking at the plus and minus, obviously being that highly expected rookie going to Buffalo in 2015, that team is terrible. So you don't necessarily blame the plus minus on him, but he didn't have a positive plus minus till his 5th year in the league. And even then, he only had 1 season of a positive plus minus with Buffalo. Since he's joined the Knights, he hasn't had a season in the negative.
Yeah, I'm not saying Buffalo is a huge, don't go to Buffalo, don't be there, but it was huge for him to get out of Buffalo.
Yeah.
To see him go to a winning team for the first time in his career and finally play a 2-way hockey game was huge for him.
Yeah, in Buffalo, his highest plus minus was +5. Since joining the Vegas Golden Knights in 2021, he's already had a season of +26 and a season of +32.
Incredible.
And he's already at +2 for this season.
Incredible for him.
And keep in mind that plus or minus 5, that was in a shortened season.
Yeah.
So who knows what would happen if the rest of the season had happened.
That's on me.
Yeah. Well, no, but I mean, it was still 68 games, so it's not crazy. But what if the rest of the season had happened? We'll have to see.
+9.
Yeah. Plus.
For me, my player of the week, and I'm gonna set this up, but then I'm gonna let Jack take over. Is Igor Shesterkin, averaging just about 3/4 of a goal a game. His save percentage is just over 97%. He's given up 3 goals in 4 games. He's looking spectacular for the New York Rangers. The issue for the Rangers right now is the offense. They've played 5 games. They've been shut out 3 times. There's only been 5 shutouts in the entire league. 3 of them have happened to the New York Rangers.
Yeah, it's just been a really rough start to the season, and if it were, it's funny because they've been shut out in all 3 of their home games, but they've scored 10 goals in their 2 road games.
Yeah, the
it
2
doesn't
wins
make any sense.
The 2 wins were goals of 4 and goals of 6.
Yep, Buffalo and Pittsburgh. And funny enough, the fourth of that 5th shutout happened when the Rangers shut out Buffalo, and I believe the other one was Minnesota against St. Louis on opening night.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's the thing with the Rangers is, it's not even like the Boston with Jeremy Swayman where he's going to play great and they can score 1 or 2 goals a game to win. The Rangers aren't scoring any goals right now.
Right.
Now, I think part of it is maybe some luck. I mean, they played against Washington Sunday night and they had a really solid game. Charlie Lindgren had the game of his life in net for Washington. Prevented the Rangers from scoring.
I love Charlie Lindgren.
Well,
who doesn't?
Yeah, the Lindgren family continues to do damage to the Rangers because Ryan Lindgren was one of the worst defensemen I think the Rangers have ever had on their team.
Yep.
But anyways, going back to it. Yeah. Well, I think the thing with it is that the Rangers didn't really make any significant changes to the offense from last year.
No.
Obviously the big change was JT Miller just being the captain, which isn't really much of a change. But JT Miller's also playing hurt right now, so it's not really helping the Rangers at all. We have to see guys like Zibanejad, guys like Alexis Lafreniere and Will Cooley, and all these guys really step up, and they're just not doing that right now. Obviously, and the Rangers don't get much offensive production from the blue lines other than Adam Fox, who's one of the best defensemen in the league. But the Rangers just have to find ways to put the puck in the back of the net because it's the only way you win hockey games. You can never win a hockey game by scoring 0 goals. Yep. It's just how it works. And we have to see this Rangers team play better, but I'm not sure if we're going to see them play better because the bottom six is really questionable offensively. I love Noah Laba, but the rest of that bottom six is not really that great. And again, Mika Zibanejad's not just really. It seems like he gets worse and worse every single season. That contract just not looking great right now, and it's just gonna be a question of young guys like Will Cooley and Alexis Lafreniere could step up and carry this offense over these next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Sorry. The fact that Sam Carrick is the Rangers' number 2 point scorer right now is hilarious.
Yeah.
Panarin, no goals. Zibanejad, I think 1 goal, and Trocheck, none. That is terrible for the Rangers.
Yeah. The thing that's weird about what Jack just said is that it's almost identical to what we said after their opening night game last week against the Pittsburgh Penguins, where Fox is going to have to carry, Lafreniere is doing too much, Zibanejad's doing too much, and Igor Shesterkin looks great. So 4 games later, nothing has changed, and the Rangers aren't making any adjustments. I want to look at their schedule because this is, Jack, I want to ask you personally as our Rangers fan, they have Toronto, Montreal, Minnesota. Do they win any of those games?
I'm going to say yes. Mainly because, 2 of those games are on the road. So, hey.
They're a good road team.
They're playing good on the road. I think at some point, luck is just going to have to bounce their way, and that's natural.
Yeah.
They've just gotten so unlucky. I mean, now, have they played well? They haven't. But they've also just gotten so unlucky. I mean, Charlie Lindgren having the game of his life. Stuart Skinner looking the best I've seen him probably ever look in the National Hockey League.
Yeah.
So, obviously, you play Toronto tonight, you play Montreal Saturday, and then you're back home to face Minnesota. As I said, I think one of those games has to be a win. And if not, the season's probably over, to be honest, because that would just be that you'd be 2-6. That's a really deep hole to come out of. But as I said, we just have to see more from this team. And, I do like the way the fourth line's playing. Funny enough, you mentioned it, Seuss, with Sam Carrick being the team's second leading scorer, but we just have to see more out of the big guys. The guys the Rangers are paying a lot of money to produce, and they're just not producing right now. And it's not just Igor. Jonathan Quick is also very, very good, even though he's pushing 40. But, the Rangers have one of the best goaltender tandems in the league, but it's not going to matter at all if this offense just can't put the puck in the back of the net.
My problem is they have to go to Toronto, go to Montreal. Those are probably, arguably, a top 5 hardest environments to play in the NHL.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, you can be a good road team when you're going to Buffalo, but it's a whole different beast when you're going to Toronto.
And Montreal. Montreal's crazy.
Yeah.
Those fans out there, shout out to them. They're nuts.
Yeah. So let's look at our final category of the week. Seuss, what was your game of the week in the past 7 days?
My game of the week was Wild versus the Kings. I was really impressed with what I saw from the LA Kings in that game. Even though they lost, they were down 3-0 and came all the way back to force overtime, get that loser point, as everyone would say.
Yeah.
But it was still an impressive game from the Kings, and I'm very much looking forward to the rest of their season.
For me, this was one that wasn't necessarily like an indicator of the rest of the season, but it was just a heavyweight battle. Stars and Avs on the 11th ended in a 5-4 victory for the Stars going to the shootout. This was just a back-and-forth game. It was so much fun to watch. Watching the game and then going back and watching the condensed game on NHL.com. Excellent game for both teams. And it's not a situation where I'm concerned with the loser or I'm celebrating the winner extensively, but it's just good hockey. I'm excited for both these teams the rest of the season.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Kraken Seattle versus Montreal this past week. A really good game between Seattle, who was undefeated coming in, and Montreal, who was 2-1. The Kraken pushed the Canadiens to their limits in this one. I mean, they were winning 4-3 late in the third period before Ivan Demidov finally got his first NHL goal in the final with 2:11 to go in the third period. And then Cole Caulfield won it in overtime for Montreal. And as I said, I am really excited to watch this Canadiens team throughout the year. They're young. They're fun. I think they could be not only a playoff team, but a contender, like an actual Stanley Cup contender in this Eastern Conference, especially once I think this offense starts to get some more consistency. And the other nice thing about Montreal is, as I said, I think Marty St. Louis is one of the best coaches in the league. And I think the culture he's built here with this Canadiens team is really good. And also, how about the Lane Hudson contract?
Yeah.
8 years, just under $9 million. That's a steal for a guy who's definitely going to win a Norris Trophy at some point in his NHL career.
It just speaks to how he believes in this a Montreal team. Like, this is a young group of guys that have been put together. There's high expectations, but when you got guys that are signing on for less than their worth, you're really showing how much these guys want to be here and how much they think that they can win.
That's a great point, as you just mentioned. And yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if we see some of these other young guys sign similar contracts. But as I said, you're really building a foundation here. Signing these players, locking them in for the long term, you're building a foundation here in Montreal that you truly believe that this is the team that's going to be able to end their over 30-year Stanley Cup drought now for the whole country, nonetheless, let alone Montreal. But I just love the way that this Canadiens team has been playing. Obviously, I'm going to root for Marty St. Louis, former New York Ranger. Love that guy so much. But it's really great to see them finally turning a corner, because it's been rough the last 15, 20 years or so for Montreal, other than a couple of deep playoff runs that were kind of a bit interesting.
Right. Yeah, last episode we talked about, are they going to bounce back and really reach the true potential that they have? And in that game against the Kraken, we really saw Montreal be that Montreal team we expected when they got Noah Dobson. Now that they have both of them together with Lane Hudson, it's going to be good. It's going to be fun to watch, like Jack said. I'm excited.
Well, Jack almost picked Seattle as his team of the week, but Montreal had to come in and ruin it.
Yeah, it was all Montreal for Jack's pick of the week.
Nothing wrong with it. I mean, I'm okay picking Boston because they really impressed me. But hey, shout out to Montreal for ending Seattle's 2-0 start, and shout out to Seattle for going into a tough environment and nearly beating the Canadiens and still getting a point out of this game.
Well, and that's what Seuss was even talking about last week, is that Seattle's going to be a team that people kind of cross off on the schedule as an easy win, but they could be a legitimate team in this Western Conference.
Yeah, Seattle could be really something. With their young core, it's not flashy on paper.
No.
You look at it and you're like, okay, we're going to roll over them. It's Seattle. But they're really looking really good. I'm really loving what I'm seeing from Seattle, and it's going to be a fun year for them.
Yeah, keep in mind, Kaapo Kakko isn't back yet either, and he had 30 points in 49 games last year for Seattle. So when he comes back, this team could be even better than the way they're playing right now.
Yeah, and keep in mind, this is a Pacific Division we talked about that is weak. It's a very top heavy. You have those three teams. You have Vegas, you have Edmonton, and then you have the Kings. If one of those three teams has a season below what we expect, anybody could jump in and take that final spot. You could be Seattle, could be Anaheim. At one point we said it could have been Calgary. Probably not San Jose. But there's a lot of teams that could squeak their way into a playoff spot if just one of those three Titans falls.
Oh, yeah. I don't know which one it would be, to be honest with you, because they're all really good hockey
I have my
teams.
pick, and Jack and I are going to say it at the same time. 3, 2, 1.
Anaheim.
Kings. What? No, I'm saying the team that's going to fall.
Oh, I think you said the team that's going to bounce. Okay,
No.
Kings.
Do you agree?
Yes.
Do you agree that
Yes,
the Kings are good?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, they just have not looked good at all. I think they're aging. I don't know what's going to happen with this goaltender situation. Yeah, I'm not really sure what's going to happen with that.
I really think the Kings bounce back, honestly.
Really?
I don't see the fall off that y'all are seeing. I'm seeing the Kings hockey as we know and love. We haven't seen Kevin Fiala really produce yet for them at all.
I think the Kings are going to have a tough season. I think Jim Hiller's going to be on the hot seat coming up pretty soon.
I think the Kings are going to be right back in that playoff push.
I think losing to Edmonton 4 times in the playoffs almost kills your morality, right?
Absolutely.
Like it just kills your team.
Especially as a front office and as a coaching staff. Like, how do you expect to continue to compete if you can't make it out of the first round of the playoffs?
Let me tell you something. Let's make it 5 years in a row. Give me Kings Oilers one more time, like I said last episode.
Are the Kings going to win this time?
Nope.
Oh my God.
We're shutting that down one more time.
What are we looking at here? We're looking at coaching hot seats. I just mentioned it. Jim Hiller is my pick for the hot seat right now. Jack, who do you think might have the shortest leash in the NHL right now?
I really don't want to pick on the Sabres because they're just not a good team, but I have to say Lindy Ruff. Lindy's he's an older coach. Obviously he had a ton of success in Buffalo before, but this is going to be a situation. I'll go over to football where I think it's going to be what Pete Carroll is in Seattle this year, where you're just going to realize that hiring an older coach is not going to be good for building the culture. And also, I just think this team needs a complete shift. They just have to completely tear everything down and just start over with a rebuild. Get a young coach in there, really build something here, kind of like what Marty St. Louis has built in Montreal. And as I said, I don't think Lindy Ruff survives the end of the season. I don't even know if he survives to the end of the season, to be honest. And we know how short leashes are in the NHL. I mean, we saw Pete DeBoer get fired after 3 straight Western Conference final appearances with the Stars.
Remember when Tony La Russa came back and managed the White Sox?
Yeah, yep.
It's a lot like that. Zeus, who's your shortest leash?
For me, let's talk about a team that's 0-3, the New York Islanders.
Yeah.
I think it's Patrick Waugh, to be honest. He's really not a good coach. I don't know what the problem is. They're taking too much high quality looks. They're not just taking the shots. I feel like when they just take the shots, the luck's gonna bounce their way, and I feel like this is a playoff team. I'm gonna be honest with you. I feel like it's gonna be a wild card team. They're gonna be fighting for it. I don't think they're as bad as the record states right now. And I'm going to give him some praise. I love Matthew Schaefer. He looks amazing out there. What a first overall pick should be.
All right, so I got to ask the final question of the day. I'll start with you, Noah Seuss. What are you looking forward to in this next week before our next show?
I'm looking forward to that Canes versus Kings game. It's going to be a great game. We have 2 of the better teams in the NHL. I feel like the Kings are going to bounce back in a big way this week. And I'm also excited to see how Carolina continues their dominance.
Jack?
Yeah, well, I'm going to go with a game that I think could be one of the highest scoring games of the entire season. We got the Oilers facing the Devils on Saturday. All the stars going up against each other.
The no goaltending cup.
No goal. Yeah. You got McDavid. You've got Jack Hughes. You've got Leon Draisaitl. You've got Jesper Bratt. You've got Evan Bouchard. You've got Dougie Hamilton and Luke Hughes on the blue lines for the Devils. This could be a game where the final score could be like 7-6, 8-7, maybe. I don't know. We're going to see so many goals scored here. Maybe the 2 best power plays in hockey. I am really excited just to see how many goals can be scored here in this game between these 2 teams.
Yeah, for me, it's going to be coming up on next Tuesday when you have the Florida Panthers taking on the Boston Bruins. These are 2 teams that I think have a lot to prove in this season. The Bruins have already jumped out to a hot start, and so this is going to be a chance for them to kind of prove if they really do belong. And the Florida Panthers are a team that are obviously back-to-back Cup champions, but so many injuries are plaguing them right now, and there's a lot of breathing on their neck on if they can actually be a competitive team. It's going to be an excellent goaltending matchup. You have Swayman, you have Bob Frosky. It's going to be a good one, and I think it's going to have a lot of implications on how the rest of the season goes.
And also, it's Brad Marchand's first game back in Boston.
It is.
So it's going to be an exciting one from TD Garden.
Yeah, and Bedoris, you already mentioned your pick for that game. You think that Florida's going to win because you said that Boston is going to have this big losing streak over these next 4 games. So it'll be an interesting one, though. And as you said, Sush, you mentioned a great point. It's exciting to see Brad Marchand back in Boston.
Sush, any last thoughts?
Let's see. Let me see if I can think of anything. I think I can't.
I have one note.
You got
in here.
one more?
I have one note, and it just says the Islanders suck.
Oh. It's true, though. It's honest. I think they're going to bounce back, though.
Yeah?
It only gets harder from here, to be honest with you. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be fine. I'm excited because with Lou, there was no future, no direction. Now with Matthew Darche, I really trust the direction this team is going in. I love Schaefer. I love Cole Iserman. This team's going to be great. Give it 2 to 3 years down the line.
Who gets to win first, the Islanders or the Sharks?
The Sharks already got one.
Did they really?
Yeah.
When?
I think they got one.
They do not. They are winless.
They are winless? Oh, they don't have a win. Oh. It's definitely the New York Islanders. They play later this week, so we're going to find out. Someone's going to win or someone's going to lose or they both lose.
They can both go winless and then they play each other on October 21st. And that would be a good time.
Yeah, the Islanders, Edmonton, Ottawa, San Jose, Detroit. It's going to be tough, to be honest.
I mean, that's not unrealistic. Say that they lose in Edmonton, they lose against Ottawa, and then they're going to...
It's home versus Edmonton, so I think they can handle it.
Jack, what do you think?
You want my takes from the first week? If we want a crazy overreaction, something I actually think can happen. Overreaction from the first week. The Detroit Red Wings and the Anaheim Ducks are both going to the Stanley Cup playoffs this year.
Pick one, Jack. Come on.
What?
No, I'm kidding.
Why? I can't pick both?
I don't think that both is going to happen, but...
Well,
I like where you're going.
We're talking about overreactions. That's an overreaction.
It's a good overreaction. All right, that'll do it from us here for episode 2 of the Dump and Chase podcast presented by the Hoosier Network. I've been Noah Bedoris with Jack Rizzo and Noah Seuss. We'll see you next week.